Hey YouTube, you are about to watch a message from one of our weekend experiences at Tethered. The weekend experience is a 100% digital event with 100% real people in the chats ready to talk to you, to connect with you, to pray with you. There's also other elements besides just this message, but we want to make this message of hope and truth available to you to help you in your walk with Jesus. If you want to learn more about how to attend one of those weekend experiences, more about who Tethered is, what our mission is, where we're going, and other resources and ways to connect with us, you can find all of that at tethered.online. But for now, we hope you enjoy this message. Hey everybody, welcome to the weekend experience at Tethered. My name is Peyton, and we are continuing our series, Mute, the voices that won't stop. How to silence the voices of accusation, resentment, doubt, which is what we're going to be talking about today, and shame. How do we push out these negative voices and replace these broken soundtracks that play over and over with working soundtracks, ones that actually tap into what is true and how God has designed us? Yes, we are at Tethered. We take everything through a Christian perspective. You don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to know God. You could be on a rocky road with God, and I still believe you're going to get something out of today, but we are going to be focusing on a very unique story in the Bible that has huge implications for us today. If you've ever struggled with doubt, or you know somebody who is wrestling with what they believe, what they don't believe, about things that have happened to them that make it hard for them to believe in God, I want you to send them a personal invitation. If you go check out the chat right now, there's a button. Click that, and it's going to send a way for you to send a text message, a link directly to this message. Just say, hey, we're talking about doubt today, and I really think you might get something out of it. And if you're watching us on YouTube, what's up, YouTube family? We love you guys, and we want you to join us live. Why? Because we have all kinds of things that you don't get watching it later. We have interactive notes that you can type in, download to your computer. We have ways to connect with our live hosts. They're watching it with you, and you can comment, request prayer, talk with them, talk with other people watching it live. There's also ways to interact with the Bible and connect with more things Tethered is doing. But regardless, we hope you'll subscribe to check out every Monday a new video that drops, and like this video, share it with whoever you want. But let's talk about doubt for a second. Do you feel like God has ever let you down? Have you ever had that thought? God has let you down. Maybe the baby you've always dreamed of, but you never had. The engagement that you prayed every night as a kid for, but it never came. The loved one who you prayed for healing, but instead of getting better, they actually got worse and passed away. Have you ever been disappointed with God, mad at God, doubted that God even existed because of the things happening in your life? You want to trust maybe, but it's hard. It's hard whenever it seems like the world is just sinking and shrinking around you. Like, why would God not do this thing? It's good. It's right for me to have a child, to get married, to be faithful, to heal this person. It's right. Why would God not allow it to happen? And maybe the truth is, you've been angry with God for a while. I know I've talked to many people who don't believe, and this is one of the biggest things. Even if I did believe in God, I'd be so angry at him, I wouldn't want to believe. And what I want to help you do today is help you mute that voice of doubt. How can we silence it? How can we turn down the dial of that voice of doubt and turn up what is actually true? Because here is the truth. God can take your anger. He can. But stop blaming him. Stop blaming him for the brokenness that exists in the world. Stop blaming him for something that you're struggling with, but you're also not doing anything to make it better. Stop blaming God. Let something go, like we talked about last week with forgiveness. Let something go. Get over it. Reconcile a relationship with somebody. Mute that voice, and I want to help you find ways to do it. And the way I want to do it, and I'm sorry if I've already stepped on your toes, this series, we really got to push the envelope. We really got to challenge ourselves of muting these voices that we have nurtured for years and years. We got to push them out. And I want to do that through the story in the Old Testament. It's of this guy named Elkanah. He has two wives, Hannah and Peninnah. So Elkanah has two wives, Hannah and Peninnah. Now, Elkanah is the husband, and his name quite literally means God has created a son. That's what Elkanah means. God has created a son. The thing is, though, one of his wives, Hannah, she couldn't conceive. She wasn't able to have children. And most people believe that's why Elkanah had two wives, because having and bearing children was so important during this time that he needed to bear children, so he had to get a second wife to do it, because Hannah couldn't bear children. And what do you think Hannah felt like through all of that? That's one of the heightened importance for you as a woman in this culture, was producing offspring, was raising a family, and she failed at it. She felt ashamed. She probably felt a sense of uselessness, like, here I am. Each year, I try to have a kid, and each year it doesn't happen. What also happens each year is Elkanah would take his family to a place of worship. It was called Shiloh. They worshiped, they sacrificed, and every time this happened, Peninnah, the other wife, the one that could have children, took this opportunity to throw shade on Hannah. So Peninnah would taunt Hannah and make fun of her because the Lord had kept her from having children. Year after year, it was the same. Peninnah would taunt Hannah as they went to tabernacle. Each time, Hannah would be reduced to tears. It would not even eat. So Hannah in this story, she's the sweet girl. She's godly. She's faithful. And then you have Peninnah. She's the girl that your mama warned you about, right? She's cruel. She's vicious. She's mean as a cat in the shower, which I've seen, and it's very mean. It's something you don't want to be around, right? And the question that every time I approach this story, I always find myself asking, why would God bless Peninnah? Why? She's cruel. She's mean. She's taunting Hannah for something Hannah can't control, and yet God allows her to have children, but not Hannah? Now, that doesn't seem right. Like, God could have given Hannah a child if he wanted to. He could have. He could have made it happen, but he didn't. He didn't make it happen. And Hannah's faithful. She's thinking, I'm faithful. I'm a good person. She's saying, God, or Hannah's saying, I love you, God. I've honored you my whole life. I've prayed. I've believed. I've waited for this thing to happen. And year after year, nothing. Nothing. And maybe that's something you can relate with. We do this every week in Experience. We open up a chance to reflect and talk with each other. So I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock. I'm going to ask you a question. I encourage you to move over to the chat and talk with other people. Talk with our host. If you're watching us on YouTube, put it in the comments. We'll get back to you. Is there something you have asked God for over and over again and have yet to receive? Maybe you prayed for salvation for somebody in your family, somebody you love, somebody that you want the best for. You prayed for it, and yet you haven't gotten an answer. Maybe you've prayed for God to heal you of some kind of bodily ailment. Maybe it's somebody that you know, and yet the condition stays the same. Maybe you've prayed and begged for your depression to go away, for your anxiety to go away, for you not have to fight these internal battles that you feel like you're fighting every day just to stay above water, and yet you keep fighting day after day. That trial, that thing that you can't overcome, it just won't go away. Your marriage is still bad. It's still struggling financially. You feel alone. Whatever it is, there's that thing that bogs you down, that keeps you from what your relationship with God should be. And you're asking yourself, where are you, God? Where are you? If you love me so much, if you love creation so much, why haven't you, God? Do you even care? So the husband, Elkanah, he was generally a good man, I believe. He loved his wife, but man, is he a man among men in asking stupid questions. This is his response to Hannah. Why are you crying, Hannah? Elkanah would ask. Why aren't you eating? Like, why are you so downhearted just because you can't have any children? You have me. Isn't that better than having 10 sons? Oh, if I could see Hannah's face when Elkanah said that. It's like, Elkanah, I'll give you a chance. You want to rephrase your question? Like, just give it another go. Like, just try again. Like, because here's the thing. You don't want me to answer that, Elkanah. I promise. You don't want me to answer. But the reality, Hannah was trying to love God. The one thing she wants, have children, and yet God seems to withhold it. And now her rival, Peninnah, comes in, making her feel miserable. She has a husband who keeps putting his foot in his mouth. And there is that voice that plants seeds in your mind, your mind, and it's seeds of doubt. Will I ever? Does God even care? What's going to happen with the unknown, with that thing I can't see? What are you going to do? And Hannah does what I think many of you need permission to do. She unloads on God. Once, after a sacrificial meal at Shiloh, Hannah got up and went to pray. Eli, the priest, was sitting at his customary place beside the entrance of the tabernacle. Hannah, she was in deep anguish, crying bitterly as she prayed to the Lord. So Hannah is pouring out her heart to God. And God, here's the thing, God can handle your hurt. He handled David's hurt. He handled Jeremiah's hurt. He handled even Jesus's hurt. These cry outs, these wonderings, these questions, God can handle it. God understands your pain. God welcomes your questions. And rather than have you walk away from him, he'd like you to yell at him. Like, yell at God. If that's going to keep you from walking away, yell at him. And Hannah, he tells God exactly what's on her mind. God, give me a son. And here's what I'll do, God. I'll give him back to you. If you will give me a son, if you will bless me with this thing that I've wanted my entire life, the thing that you have withheld from me, I've been faithful. And so, God, my last plea, if you will give me a son, I will give him back to you. And as she's praying this prayer, committing her son to God, this funny little scene happens. The priest comes in, Eli, and he sees her lips moving, cry. He doesn't really hear what she's saying, and he thinks she's drunk. And he comes up to her and says, woman, like, throw your wine away. Like get a hold of yourself. And she's saying, I'm not drunk. I'm praying out of deep anguish and sorrow. Like, I'm at a point where she's almost in a drunken stupor because of how desperately she wants this thing from God. An amazing thing, the priest Eli, he says, go in peace, and I pray that God will grant your request. But here's the thing, she still got nothing. She still had to deal with Peninnah coming home and hearing her criticism and her snarky remarks and her chuckles under her breath. Her husband probably was still saying stupid things like, hey, I'm enough. And God still hadn't answered her prayer. He hadn't given her a sign. Silence. But here's the remarkable thing. Through all of that silence, through all of the circumstances she was in, Hannah held on to her faith. She doesn't let go of it. She stays faithful to God, even though it seems like God wasn't being faithful to her. The entire family got up early the next morning and went to worship the Lord once more. A question for you. A waiting season isn't a wasted season. I'll explain what that means in a second, but my question, what are you waiting for? Then they returned home to Ramah. When Elkanah slept with Hannah, the Lord remembered her plea, and in due time she gave birth to a son, and she named him Samuel. For she said, I asked the Lord for him. God's delays are not necessarily God's denials. And you may be mad at God, you may be hurt by something God hasn't given you, you may be disappointed at what God hasn't done. You may be holding a grudge, and the voices in your head, they're loud, but choose not to trust them. Choose to end and mute those voices, because here's the reality: God will never leave you. He's still there. He's still waiting for you. He's still wanting to fulfill that thing that's good in your life. So let him in. Keep allowing his voice and his presence to be in your life. The reality is all of us have broken voices that play over and over in our head, and they're just simply not true. In this series, we want to help you mute those voices, replace them with better, more true words of affirmation. So for the next 2 weeks, we have 2 more weeks in the series, this one and next week. I am asking you to adopt a new soundtrack every week that you are going to blast on repeat. Up to this point, we've already captured 2 of them. Hopefully you've written them down, put them as reminders in your phone, taped them up on your mirror in your bathroom, made them the background on your phone, attached them to something that brings up bad voices like the treadmill or your office desk even. And I want you to put these positive soundtracks everywhere in your life. Here's a list of them right here. Pop them up on the screen so you can see. I want you to choose one of them. One more. You're going to add it to the other 2 that you've collected in this series. You only need to choose one. Which of them are you choosing? Blast it. Which one are you going to blast on repeat? Go ahead, choose one, adapt it, maybe make it fit your circumstances better, and then let us know in the chat. Which one are you choosing? Put it in the comments on YouTube. Which soundtrack do you need to put on repeat? And let us know, because we want to help remind you throughout this week as well. I'm also going to extend a personal invitation to our brand new Facebook group called Tethered Talk. We have had every day words of affirmation being posted. I'm going on every single day and I am putting a positive soundtrack that you can adopt that day. We're also people are putting other encouragement, which is awesome about Facebook groups. Unlike our main Facebook page where we do announcements and trailers, the Facebook groups are designed to hear from you, to create real community online. And so I have committed that every single day for the 4 weeks of this series, I am posting a new soundtrack that you can adopt, but we're also having other people engage and build community. If you want to join that group, I'm inviting you to join. Head on over to the chat. There's a button over there. It's going to take you directly to that page. Don't worry if you're on YouTube. Check on out down to the description. It says Tethered Talk Facebook group. Hit that link, and we want you to join this community that we're forming online, capturing and muting those negative voices of accusation, of resentment, of doubt, and of shame. Tethered is a hybrid approach to following Jesus. We'll see you guys next week. We hope you enjoyed this message. If you want to find others like it, just click one of these boxes here and it'll take you straight there. You also want to make sure you subscribe and hit that bell button so anytime a new message comes up, you will be notified and you can go straight there. If you want to learn more about who Tethered is and what this hybrid approach of following Jesus is all about, you need to go check out our website. Just the link to that in the description below. We recognize that people live a slipstream between online and offline, and so we want to help you in your relationship with God to find and follow Him and a community offline and online. That's why Tethered exists. We hope you enjoy this video and others like it. God bless. Have a great week.